You have been told that you need 10, 20, or even 50 acres of land to truly feed your family. That is highly misleading. In fact, a single half-acre can become a highly efficient protein factory. The secret does not come from high-tech machinery or expensive fertilizers. It comes from a brilliant, centuries-old design called animal stacking. By mimicking natural ecosystems, this method can help cut your operating costs by up to 80%. Picture a living, vertical assembly line.
Rabbits are housed at the top, chickens scratch in the middle, and pigs roam the ground floor. Instead of relying solely on heavy bags of commercial feed, you let the animals support each other's food chain. The waste of one species indirectly fuels the food source for the next. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but if you just toss these animals together, you run a massive risk. How do you stack rabbits and chickens directly on top of each other without turning your backyard into a diseased, chaotic war zone? To build this without chaos, you start with the ultimate vertical partnership: rabbits on top, chickens on the bottom. It begins with a wire mesh bottom cage suspended directly over the chicken run. This wire floor is the launch pad for a highly efficient nutrient highway. As the rabbits live their lives, their waste falls through, setting off a biological chain reaction we're about to dissect. As the rabbits live in their elevated cages, their manure drops straight through the wire mesh. But this is not waste. To the chickens living below, it is a biological gold mine. Rabbit manure is incredibly rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. Unlike wet chicken waste, it is a cold fertilizer, meaning it does not instantly ferment. Instead, it acts as a natural magnet for black soldier flies and earthworms. Within days, the damp bedding below becomes a thriving nursery for fat, high-protein larvae. This provides the chickens with a premium, self-renewing protein buffet. They will spend hours scratching and digging through the mulch, which helps dramatically lower your feed bill. This constant scratching turns the chickens into active, unpaid farmhands. They fluff and turn the deep bedding all day long. This constant aeration mixes the nitrogen-rich rabbit waste with dry carbon, like straw or wood shavings. By forcing oxygen deep into the pile, they disrupt anaerobic bacteria. This simple mechanical action helps prevent toxic ammonia gas from building up. Instead of a foul, burning swamp, you get a remarkably odor-free floor. But you must design this physical setup with careful precision. If you get the spacing wrong, disaster strikes. Chickens are highly curious, opportunistic feeders. If the rabbit cage is hung too low, the chickens will peck at the rabbit's soft feet through the wire mesh. This can cause painful injuries and severe infections for your rabbits. To keep your animals safe, keep a gap of at least 2 to 3 feet between the cage and the run. This keeps the rabbits safely out of reach while letting the manure fall smoothly. It is a beautiful, self-sustaining loop. But as the weeks pass, this heavy mixture of manure, straw, and feathers will keep building up. It gets deeper, denser, and incredibly packed down. So who is going to till this heavy pile and turn it into premium compost? You certainly are not going to turn this heavy pile yourself. Instead, you can use the heavy machinery of the natural world. But this machine does not run on diesel, it runs on pure instinct. Traditional homesteaders call this the basement engine, and the perfect engine for a small half-acre is the American guinea hog. Unlike typical giant farm pigs, these heritage animals are compact and easy to manage. They are built for tight spaces. Now, here is the clever design trick. You take a few handfuls of whole corn kernels. Then you toss them directly into that thick, heavy bedding under the chicken coop. The corn quickly sinks deep into the straw and manure. To a guinea hog, those buried kernels are like hidden treasure. A pig's snout is essentially a biological bulldozer. They will root, dig, and plow through that heavy mat of bedding for hours. They will not stop until they find every last kernel. And by doing this, they do all your heavy lifting for you. This relentless rooting behavior serves a vital ecological purpose. It thoroughly mixes the nitrogen-rich rabbit and chicken manure with the carbon-heavy straw. This constant turning forces oxygen deep into the pile. Over time, this process helps transform smelly waste into rich, dark compost. You get high-quality fertilizer for your garden, and it costs you nothing in fuel, electricity, or backbreaking labor.
But you must be highly careful with the breed you select. Using a standard commercial pig is often a recipe for disaster. A 600-pound market pig can easily wreck your structures. They can knock down support posts and ruin your hard work in seconds. That is why smaller heritage breeds like the guinea hog are so essential. They have the strength to till without the bulk to destroy. This stacked system can work beautifully. But if you build this exact setup in your backyard tomorrow, you might face a serious crisis. You could end up with a knock on the door from local officials, or worse, a poisoned well. It is remarkably easy to get swept up in the dream of a self-sustaining backyard loop. But the reality of homesteading is governed by invisible boundaries. Some of these boundaries are written in local law books, while others are dictated by biology. First, you have to face the local zoning office. Many suburban areas have strict regulations that limit the types of animals you can keep. In some towns, keeping a single pig or a few extra chickens can trigger heavy fines. Some municipalities do not classify small heritage livestock as pets. This leaves you vulnerable to sudden code violations and forced removals. But there is a far more dangerous threat hiding directly beneath your feet. It is the silent buildup of nitrogen. Pig and chicken manure contain exceptionally high concentrations of this element. In small doses, it is a powerful fertilizer. But when heavy rain falls on a stacked animal system, it washes through the manure and sinks into the soil. Over time, this concentrated nitrogen can convert into harmful nitrates. If your animal pens are too close to your drinking water, these nitrates can seep directly into your well. This contamination poses severe health risks to your family, especially to young children. To prevent this, you must maintain a strict biological safety zone. As a general rule, you should keep your pig pen at least 100 feet away from any freshwater well. Depending on your soil type, you might need an even larger buffer zone. Ignoring this simple distance can turn your dream of self-sufficiency into a toxic hazard. But let us assume your land is wide enough and your water is perfectly safe. You still have to live next to other people. How do you keep a stacked system of rabbits, chickens, and pigs from smelling like an open sewer? How do the Amish keep their systems virtually odor-free, leaving their neighbors with absolutely nothing to complain about? How do the Amish manage to keep this entire system virtually odor-free? The secret lies in a simple, natural element that most modern farmers completely ignore. They do not rely on expensive chemical sprays or industrial ventilation. Instead, they use a method known as the deep litter system. It is a masterclass in biological balance. At its core, this system is a clever game of chemistry. Specifically, it is about the relationship between carbon and nitrogen. Manure from your rabbits and chickens is incredibly wet and packed with nitrogen. Left alone, it quickly breaks down into a choking ammonia gas. But you can neutralize this by adding heavy layers of dry, carbon-rich materials. Traditional homesteaders use straw, dried leaves, or pine wood shavings. The magic happens when you hit the golden ratio. For optimal decomposition, you want roughly 30 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. This is the 30-to-1 ratio. To make this work, you have to build the floor up. You do not scoop out the waste every week. Instead, you keep adding fresh carbon on top. You let it build up to a depth of 12 to 18 inches. This thick, heavy blanket creates a thriving habitat for beneficial aerobic bacteria. These oxygen-loving microbes go to work immediately. They consume the nitrogen and break down the manure, which helps prevent toxic ammonia gas from building up. This system also allows the wood chips to be incubated and permanently coated by microorganisms, which makes it easier for the water and fuel to be consumed. And as they feast, these microscopic workers generate an incredible amount of heat. Deep inside the pile, the core temperature can climb up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That is about 60 degrees Celsius. This natural, biological furnace radiates a gentle warmth upward. During freezing winter nights, it acts like an underfloor heating system for your animals, and it does not cost you a single penny in electricity. But there is a critical catch you must watch out for. This entire system relies on keeping the surface dry. If the bedding becomes waterlogged, the oxygen is squeezed out. Without oxygen, the system turns anaerobic, and that is when the foul smells return. So keeping a dry top layer is absolutely essential. But does all of this effort actually make financial sense? It is time to look at the cold, hard numbers. Let us dissect the exact feed conversion ratios to see if this system is truly profitable. Let us look at the cold, hard numbers. Forget the wild promises you see online. Many internet guides claim you can raise meat for free with zero effort, but real homesteading runs on honest biology. Let us look at the actual math, starting with rabbits. The real-world feed conversion ratio for rabbits is typically between 3-to-1 and 4-to-1. That means it takes about 3 to 4 pounds of feed to produce 1 pound of meat. But here is where the closed-loop system saves your wallet. Up to 50% of that feed does not have to come from a store-bought bag. Your rabbits can thrive on fresh grass, lawn clippings, and kitchen veggie scraps. If you start with just 2 breeding females and 1 male, the math quickly works in your favor. With proper management, that tiny trio can produce over 150 to 200 pounds of clean meat every single year. That is a massive harvest of healthy protein for a family of 4. Now, let us add the chickens to the equation. A flock of just 6 laying hens can reliably provide over 1,200 eggs a year. They will happily hunt down garden pests, eat kitchen scraps, and require only a small daily ration of grain. Then we have the heavy lifters of the backyard. 2 American guinea hogs can yield over 150 pounds of premium, well-marbled pork. They do this largely by clearing your land and eating the fallen fruit and garden waste that would otherwise rot. When you add it all up, this tiny system produces a mountain of food. But how do you actually fit all of these moving parts onto a single half-acre lot? How do you arrange the pens, the pastures, and the safety zones to optimize every single inch? How do you actually fit all of this onto a single half-acre without creating a chaotic mess? You need a physical map, a deliberate strategic layout of your land. Start with your chickens and rabbits. Position their coops to catch gentle summer breezes, keeping them cool, but make sure they are shielded from harsh winter winds. Next, place your pig pen close to your vegetable garden. This minimizes the distance you have to haul heavy bedding and compost. It turns a heavy chore into a quick daily routine. But you must obey one critical safety rule. Keep your pig pen and manure piles at least 100 feet away from your water well. This simple distance helps prevent harmful nitrates from leaching into your drinking water. When you design with this kind of intent, the magic happens. Your half-acre stops being a random collection of pens. It becomes a highly efficient, virtually self-sustaining ecosystem. You do not need a $1 million farm to achieve true independence. You just need the patience and system design of the Amish. But once you master this system, you will face a new challenge. It is actually a very good problem to have: an abundance of meat. How do you store hundreds of pounds of food safely? If the power grid goes down for weeks, a standard freezer will not save you. The Amish solved this problem generations ago. They developed a way to preserve meat, keeping it safe and flavorful for up to 5 years, all without using a single watt of electricity. It is a forgotten historical method of traditional curing and canning that anyone can replicate. Click on the next video and let us explore exactly how they do it. Please note that natural farming models and traditional food preservation methods require strict knowledge of biosecurity and hygiene. Always consult professional safety guidelines before trying these methods at home.